All right, guys, welcome, welcome, welcome to our space. As always, we love to start these spaces off with a little bit of Afro pop to get the vibes going. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that. It seems like we've actually had quite a few people roll in already, so we can definitely get started here. We have a lot of things that have been going on the last couple weeks, right? So you guys have had tons of questions. We've had a lot of newcomers as well. So we want to be able to give you guys this chance to connect with our co-founder Yago. You guys have been constantly asking for him, so here he is. This is your chance to ask anything and learn everything, right? So Yago, so amazing to have you here, my friend. Welcome to the speaker panel. Um, would love to just hear from you. How are you? How have things been going on your side of the things? If you could just update the community a little bit.
Well, thanks for having me, and excited to talk to you guys. Yeah, so we've been making steady progress. We're sticking to our schedule. Um, you guys probably saw that we had uh, performed an entirely new kind of a bridgeless Bitcoin transaction, transferring funds um, to the Cardano chain. Um, and this was done without uh, creating a bridge deposit address. The big story behind that is going to be coming out soon. We've got a new white paper which is going to be describing how we did it. But the technology behind it is really, really cool and is something that I don't think we've ever seen in crypto before. Um, but the part that we have spoken about so far is that the way we did it is we created programmable Bitcoin on Bitcoin. So we've created a new way to generate programmable Bitcoin on the Bitcoin chain. And to sort of explain what that means, if you think about like ETH, most people just think about ETH being programmable, but it actually isn't. Every time you're using ETH um, on the Ethereum network with some kind of dApp, um, the Ethereum itself is basically getting wrapped in this programmable wrapper. It's called WETH. Um, and that is what has allowed Ethereum and basically every other token on other chains to become native, or the other native sort of assets to be programmable on their own chains. And we've now demonstrated this on Bitcoin mainnet for Bitcoin. It's not production ready and robust enough that we want everyone playing with it so that people don't lose their funds. But we're also at the same time in the process of, at the very end stages of completing an audit, um, which is one of the final steps towards making this production ready. And there's a lot more that's going to be coming out. Um, the same technology is going to power the ability to do bridgeless bridging, so basically allowing individual users themselves to transfer assets to and from the Bitcoin network, and is also going to allow people to start using Bitcoin itself, the world's um, most secure, most revered ledger, as a general purpose ledger for any kind of asset, programmable or not. Real world assets, dApp and DAO created assets, you name it, are going to be coming to Bitcoin. So very, very exciting times, and look forward to talking about it more.
Thanks for jumping into that, Yago. It is the most exciting thing in the cryptocurrency space right now. And of course, I might be a little bit biased here. But yeah, we're looking forward to sharing the white paper with you guys. There's a lot more features that actually come to this. But it'll be easier to explain this like once the white paper comes out. And this is the accidental discovery that we have been talking to you guys about for like the last like couple weeks, right? So the hype is finally here, guys. So if you do have questions about this, feel free to like come up here in the next couple of minutes. But also I just want to remind you guys, as always, if you drop your questions in the AMA questions channel on Discord, and we do end up choosing it, I will give you guys some XP points towards the Zeely campaign, as always. So just a friendly reminder. But Yago, the main big question that we've been seeing in the community, everybody wants to be their own boss, right? So everybody wants to be able to run a boss or slam node. So what's the update on that? Like what can you tell our listeners? Do we have any further information on, just anything and everything related to like running a node, because everybody's honestly been talking about this, asking about this for weeks on end. So even myself, I'm ready to run a node. So yeah, if you have any information for us, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, so it's very exciting to see how much enthusiasm and interest there is to be your own boss. I mean, one of the sort of the more jaded or cynical views I think I've kind of developed over the years is that it's really, really hard to get people to want to deal with um, being truly self-sovereign, running their own nodes, even more simple things like um, managing their funds in self-custody, taking self-custody of their funds instead of keeping them on exchanges is a bit of a battle in terms of education. And even if people understand the difference sort of intellectually, emotionally, they just want the convenience of having, some other service take care of it. Um, so what we currently have is basically two initiatives um, where we're building out two kinds of nodes. One is a lighter node, which our goal is to um, allow everyone to be able to run, and the and ultimately this node is what our goal is to make it light enough that you can run it even on a phone. And the goal of this node is going to be to allow you to take Bitcoin um, assets, right? So these are basically the various kinds of programmable tokens that will live on Bitcoin and transact with them without having any intermediaries. And this will also include BTC, just raw BTC. So what we've done is we've built, as far as I know, the only sort of working ZK light client for Bitcoin, which um, means that um, we're allowing people to generate proofs, unforgeable proofs of the current state of Bitcoin. And then you can read these proofs and no one can cheat you. And so you can get something which is basically the same security and the same self um, sovereignty as running a full node, but on much, much lighter machines. Um, and so um, that same principle is going to be used to allow people to run their own nodes and to be node runners for the various tokens. And then we're building a more complicated, beefier type of node, which is what I think will then quickly evolve into being the Slam node, which is more of an industrial type node, which is going to be used for all kinds of activities. And one of the key and core activities that it is involved in is being able to generate um, the ZK proofs and verify the ZK proofs required for running Bitsnark, and then later our next generation ZK smart contracting system. So um, what we expect is in the first phase, um, everyone will be able to run the light nodes, and then we will progressively make the SLAM nodes more and more available. The constraint on making the SLAM nodes available is we expect quite a lot of effort on our part to help people run those nodes early on until we've sort of packaged them up into a um, easily executable system. So just to give you guys a sense, when you're running server style um, software, there's a lot of configuration and a lot of different components and a lot of underlying software libraries that you need to be able to manage and run. Deploying that um, requires basically more DevOps experience, and turning that into something which is just basically download and run is a lot more work. And so it will take us a few months to get to that point.
Thanks for that, Yago. So, I just wanted to add here that once that time does come, guys, as always, as we've mentioned time and time again, we will be making several tutorials on this. We will also be hosting several X spaces on this. And I will also make sure I go out of my way to create a channel on Discord that basically has kind of like a tutorial how-to guide to get you started from start to finish. And of course, our support is always open. We will run you guys through it, like through and through, to make sure that you can get started and run your own node, of course. So I think you briefly discussed this, Iago, but could you quickly run over two things? Could you quickly run over the tech that might be required to run to run both nodes, both the BOS node and the Slam node? And then can you also answer whether or not we can run the BOS node on a desktop as well as a mobile device?
Yeah, so I think it's the light nodes will be, you'll be able to run them on a single device, a sort of consumer grade, laptop or home computer, and then eventually um, on a phone. Although that will require additional optimizations. The SLAM nodes, um, right now, they require you to be running you basically to be running server side. So you would need like an AWS server or um, Azure, or if you're very hardcore, you'd be running bare metal, your own server. Um, and there's a lot of optimization that we can do there to make those more efficient, um, and also allow some of the chunkier bits, like requiring you to store large amounts of data, um, make that something which can be trustlessly handed over to specialist systems, right? So to, like, basically, there we ultimately expect that it's not going to be a single system, but that different people will be specializing in running different components. Um, so some people specialize in managing data, some people specialize in ZK proving, some people specialize in ZK verification. Um, and so in the original post that we wrote about Slam nodes, we basically said there'll be like the basic Slam node, and then you'll opt in to providing various services or running various activities as a node runner. And so we don't see this as sort of like a one and done, it's released, but as a staged introduction of additional features over time.
Awesome. Thank you for covering that. Juju and Aris, hopefully that answers your questions, my friend. And Yago, before we get into pre-sale questions, I was wondering if you could just give us a quick rundown of BitcoinOS, what we're doing, who we are, and why this matters for the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem. And then from there, we'll just jump into some of the pre-sale questions. And for the community here, if you guys don't know, our pre-sale is starting this week. That is the second phase of our pre-sale. It starts on Thursday, May 8th. So keep an eye on that. Keep your notifications on. And just to let you guys know as well, I've actually created a channel on Discord. Not only a channel, but I've created a module, a category. So it'll say boss presale. And there's two channels under that module. There's presale instructions, which will have pretty much a Loom tutorial that will guide you through the entire like deposit process. And then we also have a presale FAQs channel that I made, and that pretty much highlights all the FAQs that that you could possibly have. I've went through thousands of questions, and I've basically put them all over there. So we just want to simplify this process as much as we can for you guys. So obviously we want to cater to you. So that's what we did. But yeah, before we jump into those pre-sale questions, Yago, we would love to just, for our new listeners, if you could just give us a quick rundown of BitcoinOS, what we're doing, why we matter, and yeah, that would be fantastic.
Well, I think it's no secret that today, pretty much everyone's entire financial life, anyone who's not like majority in Bitcoin, their entire financial life is at the mercy of of a few big actors on whom they rely, right? So we rely on governments to be very responsible with money and to be very responsible with debt, and we rely on banks to provide us access to our funds, and we rely on a financial system not to be over leveraged. And I think anyone with eyes at this point can see that it's very hard to trust um, any one of those promises, right? The governments are all over debted, they're not responsible with capital or with expenditures. Um, Banks do not always guarantee us access to our funds or even guarantee that the funds are there. And um, the financial system itself, even though it's, it is frequently the cause of the problem rather than the solution. And so I would say that there's a big story and a small story um, around how Bitcoin and crypto are solving this. I'll start with the small story. The small story is, and the small story itself is giant, right? But it's the small story. The small story is that given that ultimately we cannot trust these trusted centralized actors, we need to have an alternative where we can own our funds directly, we can transact with them directly, and the solution to that is a um, digital commodity asset, a digital currency. In other words, the solution to that is Bitcoin. And most of the world has now sort of at least come to recognize the validity or the potential validity of that small story, which is why Bitcoin is now more and more referred to as digital gold and is growing. And the downside of that small story is that while Bitcoin has been growing like crazy and sort of eating the world, um, or at least eating the world's currencies, we're still extremely limited in actually being able to use Bitcoin in the way um, that we're supposed to, in the way that actually provides us with those assurances. Anytime you actually want to do anything with your Bitcoin, you have to go through some kind of centralized intermediary, some centralized fund, some centralized ETF, some centralized exchange, etc., etc. And not only that, Bitcoin itself, as it stands today, not only does it not allow us to have use cases and applications for BTC, but it wouldn't even allow people to transact on BTC. The scale of BTC is too small to allow even a small fraction of humanity to actually use it as a currency. And so what's happened is that people have just been buying BTC as a speculative asset, basically seeing that the world is in trouble, buying BTC, gaining from the appreciation of the BTC, but then the only thing that you can do with it is sell it and go back into the old system. Um, this is really not the solution that we've. Uh, if Bitcoin stays there, it ultimately ends up just being a Ponzi scheme, and the story will fail. So we need to find a way to turn BTC and the little story into a reality. In addition to the little story, there's the big story. And the big story is that everything that is true of money is also true of just generally property rights, digital rights, human rights, privacy rights, everything. And so the more that we can build systems, digital systems, which put us in the driver's seat, allow us to be our own boss, allow us to control our own data, the more we can create what people have been calling the Internet of Value and create cryptographic property rights, the more we are able to truly be secure and free, and and less exposed to the changing whims of an increasingly volatile world. And the technology that we're building is designed to, in the first step, allow Bitcoin to complete its journey to becoming a global currency and a global ledger able to support global scale. In other words, allowing us to free at least one kind of money and allow Bitcoin to achieve its true goal. And then once we've accomplished the little story, what that will actually have done is allow us to also accomplish the big story and create, instead of an internet of value, introduce value, self-ownership into the internet itself. And so the technology that we're building is designed to, instead of being a replacement for the internet, right, some kind of new blockchain, is basically designed to allow Bitcoin itself to be the global ledger and settlement system for all value transacted in a digital world. That would be BTC, it would be other assets, and would even be things like our own personal data.
Wow, that was amazing, Yago. Always learn so much from you, and I love how you just break it all down for us. You're an amazing storyteller, and I think that's honestly very key in the space to be able to kind of guide our users and community through a story that kind of resonates and makes sense. So thank you for that. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. But as always, if you have any further questions, my DMs are always open. You can join us on Discord, and we're literally our moderators, our managers, our community managers, me, myself, and all of them. Like we're all available 24 hours a day to answer any of your questions. So feel free to come into our channels and ask anything. But again, guys, just as a reminder, if you do have any questions for this AMA, if you don't want to come up and speak, please do drop your questions in the AMA questions channel. All right, so let's get into the pre-sale. Like I said, guys, our pre-sale, phase two of our pre-sale for the BOS token starts in 2 days. We have not yet, I believe, announced the time, but I do believe it's going to be around 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So do keep your notifications on for that. So just a couple things to help you guys prepare. Join us on Discord. Like I said, we have the boss presale category, which will basically have two channels: the presale instructions channel as well as the presale FAQs channel. That will be pretty much everything you need to get started. Second thing, if you have not joined our email subscription list, you can also do that. And that is, you can do that on our website. It's bitcoinos.build/token. So you can sign up for the email list. Do just as a quick reminder here, I know most of you do know this, but our domain, the domain you will be receiving an email from is called Beehive. So just once again, that is not a scam. That is us. That is legit. So just letting you know that. And then a couple of other things that you can do to prepare as well is you can go on our blog. We have lots of blogs with lots of solid information. We have some surrounding the boss token, nodes, things of that nature. So definitely empower yourself with that knowledge there. We also have a Boss FAQs channel on Discord too that has pretty much all the information that you need regarding Bitcoin OS, and I've simplified everything for you guys there too. I literally have like explain Bitcoin OS like I'm five type information there just because this is obviously a very technically intricate project, right? So I tried to do my best to kind of take complex concepts and make them digestible for you guys. Um, but let's get into some of the pre-sale questions that we have here. Let me see. We got, okay. Cointree asked, we've experienced in crypto world many times we purchase pre-sale for projects and most times at TGE. This project lists price even lower than the pre-sale price. My question now is what assurance does the boss team have for pre-sale buyers that this wouldn't be like the other projects who in the end tend to farm pre-salers?
Um, I think one of the tragic things about crypto is that we sort of released the free market onto um, a world which had not really experienced it. So people, we sometimes talk as if we live in a free market society, but the reality is that you can't just participate in um, buying and selling anything you want in many, many ways. And one of the ways that there's a lot of rules and regulations about who can participate in the market is around investments. It's one of the most regulated spaces in the world. Um, and with the dubious goal of having organizations like the SEC protect um, investors. And the strange thing about it is the way they've decided to so-called protect investors is they've basically created regulations which say that only wealthy people are really allowed to participate in a more free market. Um, so what this means is that the vast majority of the world sort of had never truly experienced free markets. And Bitcoin and then later ICOs were truly global, borderless free markets. And these free markets, not only were they suddenly unleashed upon a world of people who had never experienced them, but they came with this massive story of hype and global change. And the great thing about the story was it mostly was true, but because it was so speculative and future oriented, um, the space filled with scammers. And so one of the difficult things is I've been, and I think this is not just my experience, I think it's the experience of anyone who's a true believer and has been in the space for a while, is you have this experience where you're trying to build the the systems, the technologies, the processes, and the sort of education, the awareness, which will allow people to take advantage of these new tools that we have. And you live here, right? Like for me, Bitcoin is my home. It's where I live. It's where I've lived for the last almost 14 years now. And I have this experience like every 4 years, a bunch of scammer tourists sort of come into my home, shit on the floor, steal the cutlery, and then leave. And I'm the one left trying to clean up the mess. Not just me, but everyone else who lives here. Um, and so this is a space which is crawling with scams. Now the problem is that the very tools that we are introducing and which can allow true innovation and have allowed true innovation to flourish are also the exact same tools that scammers can utilize, especially when people are unfamiliar or swept up by hype or have not been inoculated, right? They've built up no immune system to a truly free market environment. And so I actually don't think there's a solution to this in the short term. Um, and so I think the question that has been asked is extremely legitimate. And I've been on calls like this before, and people have said to me, well, like if someone's coming in and they're new to crypto, how should they know if to participate in the pre-sale or buy Bitcoin or buy some other crypto? And my answer is always the same. If you're new to the space and you're um, figuring these things out, first of all, maintain a high degree of humility. And second of all, don't participate in the pre-sale. Go buy Bitcoin. Make sure you understand self-custody um, and understand the actual realities of the space before you do anything else. So um, I think basically, fundamentally, the question that is being asked is, are we a scam? And I think the only good response to that is to say, we've been in the space for many, many years. We've been building, um, I think the people in the project have a track record of trying to build towards the same goal for now almost a decade and a half. And we keep on releasing with as much transparency as we can um, um, the systems, the technologies as open source technologies, releasing public audits, working with partner projects so that that it's not just us saying it, but others are already being able to use the technology. And if you're technical, you yourself can go and and play with the tools. And if you're having trouble playing with the tools or utilizing the technology, there's people for you to reach out to and ask questions. So um, I think any project, including BOS, can succeed or can fail. We obviously think that there's very good reason to believe that BOS can succeed, and we will do everything in our power to make it succeed. But if your fundamental question is like, if you're at the point where you can't make the distinction between sort of fly-by-night projects and projects that are building fundamental technology, and you're also in the place where you can't sort of even properly assess the difference between the different projects, then honestly, my advice to you would be do not participate in the pre-sale. The goal of the pre-sale is to build a community of stakeholders in the project to build a decentralized system, and it's okay not to participate in it. Um, I don't want to be, you know, I, I actually think it's better if you if you're asking that kind of question that you probably not participate because um, that's a sign. It should be a red flag to you that this project probably isn't for you, right? You're at least in the phase it is. You yourself are not able to make that kind of investment or participation or community or technology assessment. Um, so I think the reason to participate in the pre-sale is because you want to gain access to the system, you want to gain access to the tokens to be able to use the system, um, and uh, if that's not you, then I wouldn't suggest participating. This is designed to be a product that you're purchasing in order to use.
Well said, Yago. Well said. And I really love like your transparency and honesty here. And it ties into like what we always preach as well, guys, like in just all our spaces, right? Which is like forget about Bitcoin OS first and foremost. Like we want to empower you. We want to do whatever empowers you, whatever empowers your journey. So hopefully, you're taking this information and allowing that to just empower your journey and adding that as a tool to your belt so that you can have like the most seamless journey in the crypto space, right? So I appreciate that transparency there, Yago, and I couldn't agree more. um, so we have like another similar S question, and you kind of already gave a rundown of this, but maybe we could just kind of like graze over it real quick. So RNG Crypto said, I have a similar question. We are purchasing the boss during the presale. Part of this is to fund and support the team's work. I understand that. However, what's in it for us? What will this token do for us, and why is there value in holding this token? I guess I'm looking for an explanation of the full utility of the boss token and why there would be demand for it once mainnet and TGE happens.
So I've been looking for so the technology that is going to run BOS, right? These various nodes, they only make sense as part of a network. They need to be able to understand each other, to interact with each other. They basically need to be part of the same system. And every single decentralized system that we've built has been tokenized for a reason. What the token actually does, and it's, I think, unfortunate that we don't talk about this enough, but what tokens actually are is glue. They're the glue that holds the network together. They're the glue that holds the community together. And they're the glue that aligns the incentives between various participants in the system. So if you think about Bitcoin, which is like the first and I think most well-known case, BTC is um, what you use in order to pay for your transactions. It's what you use in order to make your transactions. It's what is used in order to incentivize the miners, and it is also what is used in order to subsidize the miners for the next, well, 100 years almost, and has basically been the primary source of revenue. That the block reward, that incentive, has been what has been used to incentivize the miners to mine from the beginning. And so what holds Bitcoin as a chain and as a network together is BTC. And the same thing is true of any other crypto ecosystem. And this isn't only true of crypto, it's true of any network. So, for example, when you're using the internet, um, anyone, we could have created a world where everyone has like different routers, and everyone's got a modem at home. But for these modems and routers, and for websites and browsers to all be able to talk to each other, there actually needed to be, because this was before sort of decentralized incentives were created, there needed to be a centralized, organized um, company, and that company is ICANN, ICANN. ICANN is the company that that makes sure that the internet is one coherent whole, rather than breaking up into thousands of different modems that don't know how to talk to each other. And ICANN is what turns when you type in google.com, ICANN is what routes that to the correct IP address. And so ICANN basically creates the glue. It creates the list of mapping different IP addresses to different URLs. The BOS token is the same thing, because what we're doing is we're building a network, and we're building a network that expands basically the Bitcoin network, and expands crypto as a whole, and is going to link all of these chains and ultimately the entire internet back to Bitcoin. We need the same kind of functionality, and so that is the function of the BOS token. And so BOS token is a crucial component of being able to allow BOS to run as a decentralized system, um, and still be a single network, instead of shattering into a infinite number of useless sort of mini networks.
That was a great question, RNG crypto, and thank you for covering that, Yago. And just to add to that, right? To the latter end of the question that you had, what's the benefit of holding boss, right? You would
Yeah.
essentially.
So
Oh, sorry, go
so
ahead.
yeah. So let me actually answer that more directly. Um, so ultimately, all the revenue that is generated um, by participating by people who are using the BOS network. And so what is that? That is people using it to build smart contracts, people using it to generate tokens, people using it to transact those tokens, people moving those tokens on Bitcoin and uh, off chain to other chains, or even into sort of centralized websites. So this is a new way of thinking about tokenized value, right? When we're and yeah, we'll be releasing the white paper, I think, maybe as soon as next week. But basically, through ZK proofs, we're now able to allow tokens to migrate to different chains. Um, just as we showed a user being able to transact from Bitcoin to Cardano and back, but ultimately also into centralized systems, because from the perspective of Bitcoin, a centralized system, if it's tying its security to Bitcoin, is just as good as another chain, for at least the ability to transact tokens. But all of this, smart contracts, ZK verification of the smart contracts, verified compute, transactions with tokens, issuance of new tokens, issuance of real world assets on Bitcoin, all of that is fee generating activity. And it's fee generating activity. Those fees are not going to go um, solely to Bitcoin miners or validators of other chains, because all of the compute, all of the complexity is being handled by the BOS network itself. And so when you're transacting, the BOS network itself will be generating revenue, and that revenue is all going to be represented and captured by BOS tokens.
Well said, well said. And you would be a key component in basically the infrastructure we've created that's anchoring the entire world of cryptocurrency back home to the most trusted, beloved asset of all, right? Bitcoin. You could also stake your boss and run a node. And I believe you'll be able to earn fees from network activity like proving and verification. And this final part I'm about to share too, it's obviously not financial advice, but as more chains integrate the infrastructure and we see that users are bridging assets through the network, the demand for BOS will naturally increase as a coordination mechanism in the network, right? So ecosystem growth will be one to one with token value. But again, this is obviously not financial advice, my friends. Um, let's see here. Let me see what other questions we had before we. I did want to share today's secret code with you guys before I forget. The secret code for Zeely is don't fight the boss. And that's, you got to space that one out. Don't fight the boss. Let's go back to our questions. Let me see here. Actually, Yago, can you answer when is the pre-sale going to end? Like, how long is this phase going to go for?
I don't think we've set anything up on the basis of dates. It will basically, there's going to be several stages, um, and the sale will continue until those stages are complete. Um, so I don't know. There is no date um, that's been set.
Got you. Yeah, it's obviously dynamic, guys. And of course, as we progress through these stages, feel free to ask that question within the next like 2-ish weeks or so. And if there's any update on that, we'll definitely answer that question for you guys. All right, so Metal Pig asked, what impact would removing op return limits have on Bitcoin OS, positive or negative, and in the short term and long term?
So this is a bit of a hot topic in Bitcoin right now. There was a proposal in the Bitcoin Core channels. It basically was a pull request to remove the current limits on the amount of data that can be placed into a op return transaction. Currently, it is limited to 80 kilobytes, which is quite small, and the idea would be to remove that limitation. Um, just to give a little bit of background, this is a soft limit. It's not actually part of Bitcoin's rules. It's more of a soft agreement, which is between all miners and nodes and is enforced by running the Bitcoin Core node. And so um, some miners have actually created services which allow you to bypass this limit by paying them a little bit of money and sending them the transaction directly. And then when they mine a Bitcoin block, they will add your sort of irregular but legal transaction um, directly. Um, for us, and the way we've constructed our system, we don't really care. We've designed our system to be efficient enough to work within the current hard and soft limitations. In other words, all BOS transactions are regular transactions. There is no need for irregular size transactions. And this makes BOS very, very unique. There is no other system that I'm aware of um, that you know can introduce or even theoretically introduce ZK verification and ZK verifiable proofs to Bitcoin using regular transactions. So we don't really care. I think it's a bit of a much ado about nothing, the current very heated debate that is happening in the Bitcoin community, because one way or another, people are going to be able to make any kind of transaction that is legal, even if it is irregular. But the big disadvantage of the current situation is that if you want to like create ordinals or write large transactions or introduce large amounts of data, then you um, absolutely need to have a miner agree to do it for you. And that usually means that the miner is also going to charge you a lot. And it also means that other miners will see it as an irregular transaction. And so you're very much at the mercy you're basically at the mercy of the permission of a given miner. Whereas BOS is designed to be completely permissionless, even with the extremely tight constraints of Bitcoin as it is today. Um, so I don't know if they will remove the limits from op return. Currently, it's looking unlikely. Broadly speaking, I think this is, I'm broadly speaking, I'm against changes to Bitcoin. I think what makes Bitcoin so magical is it's like a law of nature. It doesn't change. But given that technically speaking, these already are legal transactions, they're just considered irregular and are usually rejected. Um, this is a relatively unimportant and insignificant change.
Thanks for that, Yago. And you already covered this next question a little bit, but I'm just gonna ask it one more time here. So Bosco said in a bridge, tokens are locked in a script on the source blockchain and then issued on the destination chain as a wrap token. In the case of BOS, the Grail bridge is used and the wrap token is XBTC. Aside from the use of ZK technology, what differentiates this bridge from others like Chain, which is already decentralized and also brings Bitcoin to Cardano?
So we call it bridgeless bridging because we have to use some word that people are familiar enough with that they can understand what we're talking about. I actually don't like the term bridging for this. I think it's more correct to use the term porting. And the big difference here is, and sort of this is what is implied by bridgeless bridging, is that what we've managed to construct is a system where you actually don't have a bridge. What is a bridge? A bridge is a separate um, product system that they will lock your funds and issue a new token on another chain for you. Um, and so you can have more trustless bridges, but ultimately you're still relying to one degree or another on the bridge. With our system, you're actually the users themselves are creating the transaction. And so the way that works is that we're the BOS is fundamentally built on proofs. This is actually true of any blockchain, right? But every blockchain, every single transaction that you make is a proof that you have ownership and that you have the right to make the transaction and that you are actually making the transaction. So when you write the transaction to Bitcoin, you basically sign the transaction with your public key, and that is how you prove that you are the correct owner and you have the right to make the transaction. And then the second thing that happens is that all of the miners verify that transaction, verify the proof that you've provided, and then um, it gets into a block. What we're able to do with ZK is we're able to make it possible that you actually for people to make transactions that are there that can be verified by anyone, even someone who isn't a miner, um, even someone who isn't sort of a full node. And so the user creates the transaction themselves. They don't go deposit their funds into a bridge, get them locked up, and then they get bridged to another chain. Instead, the user writes a transaction which is recognizable and understood. They write a proof to Bitcoin and, in this case, to Cardano, which both the Bitcoin network through our system and the Cardano network through the bus integration is able to recognize. And so the user are moving the funds or moving the tokens themselves. This is a completely new concept. Um, and so I prefer, and I think over time we will start using more and more the term porting, but just so that people could sort of, as they were scrolling through Twitter, understand what we had done, we're still sort of introducing this under the idea of bridgeless bridging. But it's a totally new paradigm.
Thanks for that, Yago. Um, I guess so. A follow-up question will probably be with that, since we obviously had a demonstration that went live yesterday. What purpose will the Grail play here?
So Grail, um, um, that's a good question. Grail is a separate way. Grail was what we were initially building, and Grail was the idea to build a ZK-powered bridge which would allow you to um, port BTC to other execution environments, other chains, um, with ZK ZK proofs. But it still has the bridge component. So that is still part of BOS. But I think the big thing, the big breakthrough for us was our realization that that is not the only way that we can allow for BTC and by extension other kinds of tokens to move between execution environments, to move between chains. And so um, this actually represents um, um, an improvement over the way we were expecting to do things, which was initially that you would have Grail contracts on other chains, which would be able to read the proofs from Bitcoin of the transfer. Um, but Grail itself hasn't disappeared. It has evolved. So now what we're doing is we're creating smart contracts on these different chains, which allow transactions from the users themselves to be um, to be verified and understood by the destination chain. Um, and um, and so this allows the users themselves to make the transactions, but it also does something else which is very valuable, which is it allows funds to move between chains uh, through Bitcoin. So you can effectively port different assets to Bitcoin and then to a different chain. And then you get the advantage of having Bitcoin security being the base level of security for all of these transactions. Now, anytime you're moving assets to a different chain, to a different execution environment, you are taking on the trust assumptions of that environment, right? So once you've moved your funds to Cardano, the security assumptions that you have are Cardano. Once you've moved your coin to Litecoin or to Ethereum, the security assumptions that you have are Litecoin or Ethereum. But you don't have an additional trust assumption, which would be like this bridge trust assumption in the middle.
Thank you, Yago. Thank you for covering that. That was well said. Um, all right, let's start opening the speaker panel up for people to just come up and ask some questions before we wrap up here. And I did want to, let me see here. Lord Dre, you welcome to the speaker panel, my friend. Always good to have you up here. Do you have any questions? If you do, we'd love to hear from you. So the mic is yours. Oh, sorry, we can't hear you. Your mic is a little silent. In the meantime, let me just bring up a few more people. Let's see here. RNG Crypto. Hello, my friend. Always good to see you. Um, let's take your question first, while Lord Dre fixes his microphone, and then we can get to him next.
Sure. Appreciate you guys. This has been very informative. I'll get straight to the chase here. Another one of my questions was that if we want to use the BOS token to stake and run a node, is it something that like a regular Joe Schmo can accomplish, or will this require some kind of engineering know-how? Because it's something I would like to do. I have some limited experience in Linux, but only by way of, a click-through guide. So I'm afraid of slashing if I don't do something right or don't stay up to date with it. So just wondering how available or how open will that be to the public, or is this really just for people who really know what they're doing?
I think you should anticipate that early on, the number of people who will be able to run SLAM nodes is limited, and um, limited mostly by the complexity of doing it. So um, uh, I don't. It's going to require a beefier computer than we would ultimately want, and it is going to also require more technical knowledge. So, to the extent that you would be interested in staking, um, there's this is sort of like not a new problem. Most people today who are staking are not also running nodes. They're delegating their stake to someone who's a node runner. That would be so I would expect that early on that would be the most likely way that this would work for most people. Um, and then um, over time, um, uh, we expect that the complexity will be reduced. So, one stage would be sort of Dockerizing these nodes so that they become easily deployable by anyone who has an AWS account or is, access to some other kind of server. And then um, uh, beyond that, there's further optimizations which can reduce the kind of beefy compute which is required to run one of these nodes. Um, I still think that most people are not going to be running SLAM nodes. SLAM nodes are likely to be more computationally intense and require more active management than lighter, more lighter regular nodes. And so I think there's always going to be a place for delegating stake for probably the majority of users.
Thank you. That was helpful.
Yago, I remember a couple spaces back, you said that that was no longer going to be the narrative for Slam nodes. I think you said that you were trying to figure out a way to create it so that anybody could run a Slam node even with a mobile device. Is that not, yeah, mobile device, desktop, just a very simple device. Is that no longer the case anymore?
Um, so I think that it's going to be possible. So there are functions which are always going to be more computationally intense. One of the key distinctions I would make is the difference between proving compute and verifying compute. Verifying compute is much, much lighter. Proving compute is much, much more complex. Um, and then what that means is that you can have SLAM nodes that are actually actively involved in verifying, but they probably won't be doing proving. For proving, you need a beefier setup. And so that's why I say sort of SLAM nodes will allow you to opt in to performing various different functions. You might opt into being an active verifier without opting in to being a active prover. The other component there is Grail itself, because of the um, computational complexity of the cryptography, right? So the way we're generating these taproot addresses, the taproot addresses themselves require a lot of computation, um, and you can run them. We're already running them on laptops, but they're slow. And so to keep up with the network, if other people are running very large or not even very large, just sort of larger or faster machines, it will be more difficult for you to keep up. And so for your own transactions, you will be able to run most functions, but if you want to be able to act as a participant, basically providing services to others, verifying, proving their compute, setting up Grail addresses or helping others set up Grail addresses, then probably you're going to need a more significant machine.
Okay, thanks for the explanation there. And I guess I have my own like little question here too. So obviously, with ZKPs comes a lot of different advantages, right? Like we could take thousands of transactions, bundle them into one small proof, one small piece of data, and that not only makes things cheaper, but it also makes things faster, right? So with the nodes, is that kind of one to one as well? Like, is the more nodes that are running, does it make the operations a lot faster, or does that not matter just because of the actual ZK technology itself?
No, the system doesn't get faster or slower on the basis of the number of nodes that are running. Um, because, well, okay, that's not entirely true. Yes, the system actually can do more if you have more nodes, because not every single node needs to be able to see and verify every single proof. Um, and that is sort of part of the magic of ZK. Um, but for transactions um, that you are engaged in, you're probably going to want to verify all of the transactions that you're engaged in anyway. And so um, having more nodes in the system doesn't make your ability to verify your own transactions or transactions that you're engaged in faster. What it does do is it allows the system to have multiple different operators who are operating in parallel. Um, so if today the way we think about blockchains is that everyone has to verify every computation and every single transaction, the advantage of thinking from a ZK first situation architecture is that you only need people who are who actively need to be engaged in transactions are the only ones who strictly need to actually do the verification. Although in practice, you will definitely see people who are proving and verifying and monitoring the entire network because they want to build out um, you know, that because they're providing services. Like, for example, if you're providing a service like a blockchain explorer type service, then you're going to be want to verify everything. If you're if you're acting as a liquidity provider um, or a market maker between different dApps, you're going to, especially if they exist in multiple different chains, you're going to want to be monitoring probably the entire network.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. Appreciate the clarification. Lord Dre, welcome back to the speaker panel, my friend. The mic is yours.
Okay, yeah. Good morning, GM, depending where you're from, whoever. I'm very just fascinated about what BOS is building, and I decided to come here and maybe grab the mic so the people who are following me can see that I'm here and hop in and get to have a clue that, oh, something's happening somewhere on the blockchain, right? I read about the tech. I've been here since when this page had about 20,000 followers. I've followed up the progress and everything, and I'm completely awestruck. Most of us came into crypto through Bitcoin, yeah, the genesis, everything. And over time, we've seen how the space is metamorphosed and all the debates we've been having over time, maximalists being like, no other chains should exist. The space has evolved, and we figured that, okay, these other chains are not here, basically should not be here to compete with Bitcoin because nobody can. Rather, these chains are here to scale. Bitcoin and BOS has made that very, very feasible and possible. The debate is over, right? So now all of these chains together, contributing all their capacities, are just like parachains here to scale Bitcoin. And with this tech, we can burrow into all of their capabilities and expand the use case of Bitcoin further. And it's amazing to see in this dispensation. I never thought it would happen real soon. You've made it possible for interoperability to be feasible. All chains can contribute their power and come back home where it all started and contribute whatever use case they have to the Bitcoin chain. And it's fascinating. The only question I have yet, which I haven't been able to answer after doing all of my research, is apart from UTXO chains, other non-UTXO compatible chains, can they leverage the technology and maybe Bitcoin can use the chains through this tech? I mean, non-UTXO compatible chains. Cardano is UTXO, Bitcoin is. What about those chains that are not UTXO?
Well, Lord Dre, thank you very much. I think first of all, you gave an excellent summary of what BOS is and part of what BOS is going to help achieve, basically reuniting crypto. Um, and then I think your question is also a very good one. So um, the system, Bitcoin itself, is a UTXO chain. I think there's a few other ones like Doge, Litecoin. Cardano are some of the most significant other UTXO chains, and those are going to be the easiest ones for us to unify with Bitcoin in terms of being able to allow for bridgeless bridging and to allow for assets which are issued on the Bitcoin network to be able to be used on these different chains. And so then the question becomes, if a chain uses a different system, an account-based system like Ethereum or Solana or Sway, are we able to interact and also unify those chains with Bitcoin? And the answer is yes. And the way we do it is we are building translator contracts, which are going to allow you to move um, assets from UTXO chains into account-based chains, and then to use those tokens as basically simulate UTXO on those chains, or allow you to switch into sort of the native token on that chain. So, for example, you'd be able to switch into an ERC20 and use it in an account-based system. And so we're building this universal translator, which will be able to deploy to different chains, which will allow them to behave like UTXO chains, or to allow tokens to switch out of the UTXO model into the account-based model.
Oh, okay. Okay, I think it's awesome. I don't know if the other guys understand, but that's great.
That was a fantastic question. And it's always good to have you up here on the speaker panel, my friend. You've most definitely been a very loyal supporter and advocate for a long time. So we love having you up, and thank you again so much for your support. Again, really, really good question. I actually had not thought of that myself. So let us bring up, I believe Jason had a question. And then we have space for two more questions after that. And then we will be coming to an end because we have something special that is going to be announced for the Cardano community in 2 hours. So we need to prepare for that. Um, can't reveal any more details other than that. But yeah, let's jump into questions. Jason, the mic is yours, my friend. Always good to have you.
Yeah, GM, everyone. GM, Enian, GM, Yago, and everybody. My question is actually, I think Yago actually kind of answered my question. So it's about this new tech, beaming, like the trustless bridging, the demo that was carried out on Cardano. Can it work like the tech? Does it work with, like, can you send the XBTC to other chains, like maybe SU or, other blockchains with that same tech? Or is it just for Cardano for now, or are you guys planning on working on that?
For now, it only works on Cardano. Um, it will then, we hope, work on other UTXO chains as well and allow all of these UTXO chains to basically become UTXO bros to sort of meld into one super network. Um, for now, if you are transacting with an account-based system, you would use the older version, like version 1.0 of Grail. And so with the original version of Grail, we already have sort of in the lab it integrated with account-based systems. And in fact, on the testnet already it is integrated with account-based systems. And so you can use it with Ethereum or Arbitrum or Merlin or a bunch of other, right now mostly EVM chains. So BOS will allow you to, from the beginning, interact with all of these different kinds of chains. And our goal is to upgrade everything to sort of Grail 2.0, the bridges bridging for all of these chains, regardless of whether they're UTXO or not. But for now, um, bridges bridging is only for Cardano, is only integrated with Cardano.
Okay, thank you.
Great question, Jason. And I did give you some points for that in the AMA questions channel. Yago, so Doge is also follows that same UTXO model. So do we can XBTC live on the Doge chain as well?
So this is something that is still a question of research. Doge is actually the one chain that I can think of that is out there that is even simpler than Bitcoin, because 4 years ago, Bitcoin integrated and basically upgraded with Taproot, and Doge never upgraded or introduced Taproot, which means that the more complex cryptography that we're using, which was made possible by Taproot, is not available in Doge. But we do think that we have a solution for Doge, and we hope to get around to implementing it.
Interesting. Maybe we can get Elon Musk on board once that happens. That would be exciting. But thank you for answering that. And let's get to this final question here. I'm sorry, a couple of you have sent in requests, but unfortunately, we're kind of running out of time here. So we only have room for one more question. But of course, guys, like I said, if you have any questions whatsoever, we are available for you 24/7 on Discord. Feel free to come in, ask any questions that you have. King of Doings, welcome to the speaker panel. The mic is yours, my friend. King of Doings, the mic is yours.
Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible,
Okay.
my friend. Go
Well,
ahead.
GM to everyone on the speaker level, the boss community, Alien, Yago himself, and every other listener on the space. Well, I don't really have much to say. It's just I'm just fascinated with everything that is going on the boss network. I've been a big fan of the boss movement and everything. So I've been active in my own way, trying to, educate my little community on what is coming. A lot of us missed some big moves in the crypto industry. And Boss is coming to unite the crypto space once again. And it's a groundbreaking achievement. It's just a pain that a lot of people are not even aware of what is going on. And they might be late, but it's a privilege for us to be here. So I just want to appreciate the community and the bridgeless transition is like it's mind blowing because sincerely speaking, the bridging system has proven to be unreliable because a lot of hacks have it's prone to a lot of you know disruption and hacks and all of that stuff. So I mean the demo that was carried out on the fourth was just mind blowing and yeah, the UTXO chain for now are the only compatible chains and we believe the boss are working on something that is going to be, that is going to accommodate other chains. So, and for that, I'm super bullish on it. Yeah, I would like to use my mic.
Thank you, my friend. Much love to you. And thank you so, so much for your support. Love seeing you in all our spaces as always. And again, everybody's support here, your support and advocacy for us is so appreciated and it has not gone unnoticed. We couldn't do this without you guys. We've been building this together. So shout out to every single one of you for always showing up, for being loud on socials, being loud on
I
X.
don't think so.
Um, for being loud on X and doing your thing. Again, guys, we would not be able to do this without you. Um, before we end this space, I just want to say, Cardano community, our beautiful, beautiful Cardano friends, keep your notifications on because we have something very, very, very special that we have been planning, coordinating, executing, crystallizing for the last couple of weeks. And we are going to go live with it in the next, I believe, hour and a half to 2 hours. So, once again, keep your notifications on, join Discord. We have something special for all of you. I would also like to say that we are all experiencing history in the making. Once again, we have made history, right? We are seeing a new era beginning, a new foundation for crypto beginning, and we are all experiencing what it means to be early to Bitcoin again. As we have stated time and time again, you are all learning and experiencing what it means to be your own boss. And this is literally just the beginning for us all. So it's an extremely exciting time. And, all I can say is there's nobody better to experience this with than you guys. You guys have been so loyal, so supportive. You guys have been with us through and through. We've had ups and downs, but collectively, this is a space that we've come to. This is where we're at now, and we're all experiencing history in the making. It is an extremely exciting time, and once again, it's just the beginning. So, shout out to all of you. Shout out to you, Yago. Thank you so much for just being you, being an amazing storyteller, being so honest, being so transparent as always. That's the ethos that we share here, guys. As Yago was saying, it's like our main priority here is to empower you so that you have the knowledge and tools to navigate this space as efficiently and effectively as possible. So even if you're just here and you're just curious, I hope that you just learn something. Forget about BitcoinOS. I hope that you just learn something that is truly just empowering your journey right now. That's our main goal. It always has been, it always will be unity at its finest, unity at its core, right, guys? So, once again, shout out to all of you. Cardano family, keep your notifications on. Something special is coming your way. And then just another quick reminder, guys, our pre-sale goes live in 2 days at around 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So keep your notifications on for that as well if you're interested. And join our Discord. Like I said, I created a pre-sale category for you guys. We're going to create a Loom tutorial for you that will basically guide you through the entire deposit process. And then we also have just another channel separately for pre-sale FAQs. So that will all go live on Thursday. Sorry, guys. Um, but yeah, thank you all so much for joining today. Thank you all for, showing interest and once again being amazing advocates, being amazing supporters. Shout out to everybody who came up to the speaker panel, Lord Dre, RNG Crypto, Jason, King of Doings. A few of you requested to speak. Thank you so much for that. I'm sorry we couldn't get to you, but thank you so much for just caring to come up and speak. And shout out to everybody who dropped a question in the AMA questions channel as well. And just a quick shout out to everybody here. We got RNG Crypto, Lord Dre, Jason, King of Doings, Money on Chain, Am Good. Good to see you, my friend. Georgios, we got Zach, we got Crypto, Bag Travis, we got T, my friend. Good to see you. We got Aris, Intelligent 11. We got Jessica, who is our amazing moderator. Shout out to you, Jessica. We got CZO Low, one of our OGs. We got Dev Musty. Nice to see you, my friend. Beavers, Fizz, Mindless. We got Andrew, KB Saint, Spentron. We got Sino, Casey, Edu. I would have to go through every single person here. We have a massive, we got a bunch of people in the space right now, but just shout out to you. Your advocacy for us has not gone unnoticed today. So thank you all, my friends. Thank you all for being here. Yago, thank you so much again. And just to let you guys know one more time before we head out here, we have a pre-sale AMA next Monday as well. So if you have pre-sale questions, just know that we're going to be hosting a community call, an AMA to get those to get those questions answered for you. As always, guys, let's end this space with some good vibes. And hopefully, you guys all have an amazing, bullish, healthy, happy, loving week.
Thanks very much, Alien. Thank you, everyone. This has been awesome.
Thank you,
We're
Yago.
this much closer to all being our own boss.
Let's go.
I can shield your heart from danger. Want to be more than just a stranger. And if the stars align in my favor, then every night you and I sleep good day. Ah, Sweet, sweet life. I don't wanna make no mistake. Got to get it right every time. Been on my mind. I seen it like the skies and I feel it like the air. Feel my body lifted. Let my mind go drifting. Hold me in your arms. Take care, everybody. Have an amazing week.